Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's Saratech enablement session. My name is Rebecca Studischetz, and I'm a customer care representative here at Saratech, and I will be your host. Presenting today, we have Mark Anderson, who is a senior applications engineer, and he'll be talking to you about new features and operations in NX 1926. And with that being said, I'll pass the baton to Mark. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. And as Rebecca said, my name is Mark Anderson. I'm a senior applications engineer with Saratech. I specialize in CAM software. So generally, what I do with these CES sessions to get a topic is I go through the last case history over the last month or so. And what I found was there were a ton of questions and concerns over the changes that have been made in 1926 version to some drive methods, some operations, and some of the way it functions. So I thought it would be a good CES session title to let you know of all the different changes that's taken place. And some of the changes you may not even know have taken place yet until you run against them. So for the agenda, we're going to talk about what to expect when upgrading. We're going to go into unsupported drive methods that NX has removed, features that have been discontinued, and then how the dialogs are going to appear to you. Because there's going to be circumstances where you may do the same exact thing in NX and see two different dialogs. And I want to explain why that takes place. And then I wanted to explain in your customer defaults, use latest templates and use latest libraries, what those checks actually mean and what they do in the system. So when you're upgrading to NX 1926, if you look at the README file in the release, it'll give you a lot of the different updates, upgrades, things to look for, or issues that you may have. So it's always a good idea to read that README file before installing, just to be certain. So here's just a couple of the major things that have taken place. The cloud-based post-processing technology, including the highlights. They've tried to do a higher level of automation in this version, so they're giving you the ability to do a lot more things when it comes to customization. There's a new 5-axis roughing algorithm. Now it's powered by the adaptive roughing cycle. So everything that you see in adaptive roughing, drive methods, the different cutter path styles, that's all going to be the same in this, but it's producing 5-axis roughing capabilities. You can also program multiple robots now. The line planner, it's a seamless allocation of operations across multiple machines. Post hub is a big deal. Post hub is now inside of post processing. So when your post process dialog and one of the panels you drop down, you now have from a customer level access to the post hub. For anybody that doesn't know what post hub is a central location for different VARs, different salespeople that have that are selling post processors and simulation kits to have a central location to where everybody can go to and see them. I recommend everybody looks at that, because what this does is it gives you a platform to actually post-process code, simulate it, and then either purchase the kit or purchase the code. So if you say you're a mom and pop shop that doesn't have the capital to be able to go out and buy a $20,000 simulation kit, you can utilize their simulation kits and get code that's been proven. So it's a very unique place to get post-processors and simulation kits, and there's a lot of use there. So toolpath changes. So I put this statement up here on purpose because I've seen a ton of cases for post-processors no longer functioning the same as when a customer, say, went from NX12 to the continuous release versions. So it's not necessarily 1926, it's just the continuous release versions. So we all know that when we move up versions in NX, some things change a little bit, and sometimes you got to tweak post processors. So this is a general statement that they put in the README file, that they're continually improving the reliability, adding enhancements, fix problems, and in many cases you'll see a difference between the old toolpath and the new toolpath. So as a standpoint from when they released this, instead of you calling in and saying, hey, there's an issue with post-process code, I looked at a back plotter to I ran a verification on the original toolpath. This toolpath isn't exactly the same. they're acknowledging that it's very possible that it's not the same, but they're guaranteeing that is in a comparable status. It's either absolutely comparable or better toolpath. So they're asking you to test this out before calling with an issue wanting the code to be exactly the same. So there is the lock toolpath during version upgrade and customer defaults that you can use that will automatically keep this toolpath. No matter if you generate or not, it won't regenerate with the new system. So if you have post-process issues, I would lock toolpaths during version upgrade. You know it ran previous, so you have a proven program. Adaptive milling. We now support bullnose. So that was a major advancement in adaptive milling, being able to use bullnose. So now you have a much higher quality of efficiency when it comes to roughing strategies, roughing toolpaths and times. So the post-process, this is a very large caveat to 1926. This is enormous. So up until a certain year, which would have been right around NX12, PostBuilder was the first and foremost platform for all post-processors being built, unless you bought it from ICAM or a third-party post-process company. But for NX, PostBuilder was the go-to tool. So now they came out with Post Configurator. It's been out for a while now, and it's very robust. And moving forward, I would always start with Post Configurator. But we are always going to have PostBuilder to look at, modify, and change old post processors that were built, pre-Post Configurator. With this version, they've removed all the PostBuilder post processors from the standard tool library. So if you have a post processor that's built upon one of these, you'll automatically get an error that it won't work. The only way that you can correct this is to take the post process library that's out of that version and copy what's missing into the new version. So what I'm saying is, if you get a post processor error in 1926, it's not that it's not going to work. It's just that you have to copy the PostBuilder library, PostBuilder post processors into the new resource folder to make sure you have all the files that are correct that you need. So here's another major one. Some of these here are crippling to some companies that built their processes on these drive methods. So retirement of legacy options. In area milling, the steep containment, directional steep, and none are no longer supported in the current release. So we utilize those so that we could segregate toolpaths from steep and non-steep to do a certain area overlapping. So now it's looked at as one entity. The other retired options, is no more trichordal toolpath. Not in our roughing, in our cavity milling, anything like that. It's only solely in adaptive milling. Which this is a very good change, because we don't really, the trichordal cut pattern, it's built and designed for adaptive milling. So we had the option before to be able to use trichordal when we overloaded the tool radially. But now we have an option, a complete operation, that gives us multiple different types of cut patterns, including trichordal when we overload. So the adaptive milling would be the go-to milling strategy for roughing. In my opinion, cavity milling has, it's starting to get more into the legacy side of things. So radial, concentric, and standard drive cut patterns for area milling are no longer supported. So you'll no longer see them. Now, on plane was a major one for area milling. They removed this, and certain companies, they built their entire processes on plane. So they have all their templates, all of their technology, feature-based manufacturing, everything's built upon this. And for them to remove it, looking now at the IR status for some of the IRs that were registered with GTEC, they've gotten a lot of numbers on there. So there's a lot of customers who have attached their sold to it so that they could get some type of fix for this or workaround. So 2 releases ago, they did the same thing. They took a function out, and then because there was such an uproar, they ended up putting it back in 1926. So I'm hoping that on plane gets put back in. Spiral boundary radial cut drive methods for fixed axis contouring operations is removed. They're no longer supported. Use 2D for area milling, flow cut, and Z-level is no longer supported, and blank distance for cavity milling operations is no longer supported. So you will not see these in the operation dialogues. So here's an example of what you're going to see. Two of the same operations. You should see the same things. I know you can see variable streamline and curve drive and the operation title, but it's the same operation. The background is the same operation. The reasoning behind what you're seeing is, even though they've removed and those are no longer supported and they're considered legacy, there's too much built upon them yet for them to completely just remove it. So what they've allowed to happen is they've allowed it to come in the background. If you open up, say, an NX12 file that utilizes one of these drive methods, it will bring those drive methods available to you. So your dialog to the left will be from an existing NX file. The dialog to the right is going to be if you just create a operation inside of that file. So this is a circumstance and scenario where you could do two of the same exact things in one file and see two different results, which is very confusing. So for instance, if I opened a file that was an NX12 file in 1926, I work on an operation, it will show to the left. I just get done doing this, okay it, I generate it. Then I say I have to create a new area milling operation. Now I'm missing these drive methods. So that's what you're going to see different in the same file. So I want you to be aware of why you're seeing it and what to do so going forward with this, what you're going to have to do with any of these templates that you have that utilize those legacy drive methods, you're going to have to rebuild them. But for the time being, they're giving you the ability to carry them over. So they're basically grandfathered in if it is a previous file. Starting new, you don't have access to those drive methods. Okay, so I wanted to show you a demonstration. So here's a file that's an NX12 file that I opened. I'm going to open up this variable streamline. And you see that in my drive methods, I do have spiral boundary, radial cut. I have all my operations, my drive methods that are retired. Now, if I go and just create a brand new operation, as I was saying, I don't have those drive methods. So there's going to be instances where you're going to see two different results in the same session, and I wanted you to be aware of and understand why that was taking place. Now, when you use templates, when you say it's all of these, for those that don't know, when I say templates, they can be anything to a part template, a machine template, anything that's reusable. But also every one of these operations is a template. Each one of these is a category. Every one of these has a part file to it that's associated with operations that makes it a template. So say in Mill Contour, I have an adaptive roughing template that I've modified and I use that as my standard. If I go in and I do not have in software updates, manufacturing general, template parts, if this is checked, it will ignore my template and it will go to the resource folder of the hard drive and it will take that. If this is checked, then it goes directly to the resource folder and takes the template. So in other words, if you hover over this question mark, it'll explain it more. So if I do an update and I have a template that I have saved, the updates templates go into the resource folder. That template that I have, that's my template, is in the custom folder. If this is checked, it will go to the resource folder, templates folder, and grab the most current one. If you do not have this checked, then it will go to the custom folder and it will grab my personal template. So you want to be certain where you're checking and what you're doing, because most people don't understand this, and what they do is they just copy and overwrite the templates that are in the install of NX. And you should copy them into the custom folder and run them using the latest. So caveats to this are, if you have this unchecked and you have libraries unchecked, it will grab your custom templates and your custom files. If new functionality comes out, you won't see that. If a circumstance with these drive methods happens, you're going to continually see your drive methods in the previous version. The moment NX decides that they're going to discontinue them permanently, those templates are not going to work anymore. So we have a window to rebuild your templates, utilize the templates the correct way, and then carry them forward. So I understand that it's very confusing with how NX is going about implementing. There's also one more that I want to show. This is more of and this is the release notes. So in the release notes, you'll see all of the different changes that have been made. Anything else that's came up, like new functionality, any type of thing that's been retired. If there's been a environment variable that activates it, they'll list that. So I recommend that everybody reads this before they install a new version of NX. And if it's not in the install directory, if you're on an automatic update and you go into the automatic update folder and you do not see the README file, you can just go to the GTech page and they will have the full update, the full release note for that version. And then you can, whichever facet is your particular module, modeling, manufacturing, it'll have everything listed for this. Now, the edit text, they've removed this, but they've just removed it in the ribbon. So if you have a lot of text, annotations and text that you need to edit on the fly, you just go in and edit annotation, edit text. So the command finder will not list it anymore. It's not in the ribbon, but you can find it. But the reason why I chose these as the topics for this particular CES is because these are going to go away. You're going to get another version of NX that you're just not going to have the ability to use them. So now is our time to modify and make new templates that adhere to the new drive methods and drive standards. Notable takeaways, link to release notes. There will be once we put this on YouTube, there will be a link in here to get to the release notes, a PDF that we'll have, or you can get it online like I described. Many operation templates will need recreated, not updated. This isn't like previous versions of NX to where you just updated the template with a couple different things and it was fine. No, these should be, you should utilize the template that's in the install and then modify it to whatever your current template does. Several drive methods and toolpath constraint methods are no longer available. All post builder posts and post processors are not included in this release. If you run into an issue, go to your previous release, NX12, resource folder, post processor folder, copy the whole thing, paste it into this release, and just don't overwrite what's already in there. If you have your own post processors that are currently in there, just don't overwrite those and only add what's missing. This is a statement about post processor and toolpath changes. Test your code. So the reason why I put this in there is because if you come to me with a help desk case and say my code is different, the first thing that I'm going to do is say, did you test it in steel? Your response is going to be, why would I ever do that? I understand where you're coming from. You're not certain. So we have to use the tools inside of NX to simulate material removal, do an analysis, make sure that the toolpath is doing what it's supposed to do, gouge check. If you pass all of these, then Siemens is going to say, we have given you a sufficient or better toolpath than previous. So we're going to get pushback when it comes to toolpath looking different just because of a new version. And then be sure to understand your customer defaults, that they're set correctly, and your custom templates are in the correct locations and being pulled from the right sources.
Thanks for checking out our channel. If you like what you saw, make sure to like and subscribe down below so you don't miss out on any new videos. Follow us on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter for the latest engineering news and information. And to see all of our upcoming events, please visit our website at saratech.com/events.